We can't interact with it. We can't let it transcend us, the kingdom, because most of what we're doing is centered around self. And the body, the mind, the emotions can only take but so much of that because we're not taking care of our bodies. If you are focused on self, your ministry will die. If you rely on self, your ministry will be on life support. If the foundation of your actions, your behaviors, your decisions, your choices, if the foundation of those things are religious and not relationship, God is calling all of us into a relationship, first with Him, then with each other, horizontal and perpendicular. If you neglect yourself, mind, body, and soul, that leads to this place where Elijah found himself. And as we talk about building a better society, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about how important religion, society, culture, but how important religion is as it pertains to the society that we're going to leave our children. And as we build the pillars, because remember, a society is as only as strong as its institutions. And one of the main institutions is religion. This country was founded by those who identified as being religious people. And America was saw as the promised land for those who were coming over here. The Pinta and the Santa Maria, they were looking for. So the religious context has always been there. So if we're going to talk about strengthening the pillars of our religious institutions, if we're going to talk about a better society, we're going to have to talk about a lot of the ministers, wounded servants, wounded healers. And if we could take better care of ourselves, that part of the pillar would become that much stronger. So, Jesus was always engaged in self-care, not self-murder. If you want to be my disciple, first deny yourself. Many, many of us skip this step. Pick up the cross and running trying to make 100. After all, we sing 99 just won't do. Sometimes that can be about self. Look at me. I'm running 99. Some of us never make it to 100 because we die along the way in a way that doesn't honor God. Religion is a cornerstone of what was built here on the property um, that was already in possession of the indigenous, a land discovered, quote unquote. Today, as we describe or define our culture as a society, religion is a pillar. Religion is failing. Church is failing. Why? Too many of our leaders are engaged in suicide by ministry and not self-care. So the institution of religion, the pillars, are weak. Paul says this at the end of his life, not before, not in his prime. This is what he says. He says, now laid up for me is a crown of righteousness. You remember, he's talking about He's about to be poured out like a drink offering. And he says, now laid up for me. So he's saying he's getting ready to die. But in that declaration is a confession when he says, now, after a life of virtue, now, after being as faithful as I can to the call of Christ, now. It's honor, sacrifice to a cause bigger than himself. Now laid up for me. Why? I'm a keeper of the faith. That's what he says. He says, I ran my race, I kept the faith, and I fought the good fight, but I kept the faith. He's in prison, he's about to die. So there's no vice laid up for him in this world. There's only virtue and the celebration of hearing the Lord say, well done, my good and faithful servant, when we are embraced into the next life. Now, what I did for Christ. He said, he's saying, really, my selfishness didn't land me here. My commitment to Christ is why I'm here. That's different than suicide by ministry. That's different than self-murder. We're called to self-murder through humility. And that hit home, and that we wear that emotionally a lot different. Jesus said it different too. He said, it is finished. His life wasn't his life. He told his parents that at 12 years old. He said, you should know that I'd be about my father's business. That's at 12. At the end, at 33, he says, it is finished. I've done what the Father, I've done what God has called me to do. I've done what the universe has called me to do. I was faithful as I can to the universe, Mother Nature, humanity. I did my best. It is finished. And so, as we think about a better society, we are keepers of the faith and trusted, a guardian of it, doing what's best for the team, doing what's best for society, even if that means it's not best for you. Most of the people we celebrate in terms of scientific discoveries and theological discoveries, and we had to double back to those conclusions because when they were alive, they were persecuted. So pick up your cross and follow me. Do as I say. Do as I do. Follow me. Don't deviate from following me. And as you follow me, notice the moments that I get away and go into the mountains to be alone to pray. Notice how when people want to celebrate me, that I reject that celebration and I spend time alone, meditating, finding my center, speaking to God. And I think of many of us knowing how important religion is, if many of us can withdraw from the practice of suicide by ministry, we'll be working toward a better society to leave the next generation.